Did you know that military snipers risk their lives almost as much as infantrymen storming buildings and trenches? Or that hitting the target with the first shot from a rifle is almost impossible? In this video, I will tell you about the challenges of being a sniper, why they almost never shoot standing and without support, and what tasks these people perform. And in the end, you will learn why I, like many others, consider snipers to be real superheroes. Enjoy watching. Probably, each of us has heard the phrase "accurate as sniper" in childhood. Usually, it sounded as a compliment for someone who scored a goal against the opponent or simply did something with perfect precision. But few people know that in reality, snipers rarely hit the target on the first try. Why, you might ask? It's simple, and I'll tell you why. The thing is that hitting the target from a long distance is very challenging for these people. And that means that whether the bullet hits the target or not will depend on many factors. For example, the wind can significantly alter the trajectory of the projectile, so it is necessary to constantly consider the movement of the air. Visibility also matters, because if there is fog on the battlefield or smoke has risen, aiming precisely becomes much more difficult. It is also important to consider how far the target is. After all, a bullet travels along its own trajectory, which is called ballistics. So, are all snipers super accurate or not? More likely no than yes. After all, hitting the target on the first try is only possible under very favorable circumstances. Take, for example, a British sniper, Craig Harrison, who managed to eliminate 2 insurgents in Afghanistan with just one shot from a distance of over 1.5 miles. And what do you think? Did he do it on the first attempt? Of course not. It took him 9 adjustment shots for this miracle. It's strange though how he wasn't detected during all that time. Here, I would like to emphasize that the work of a sniper is actually much more complicated than it may seem from movies. Why? Well, just because of that. Imagine how much you need to consider to destroy your target from a long distance. Wind, ballistics, and many other criteria. And despite all this, the sniper is still on the battlefield, and he also needs to find shelter and run around as if he were an ordinary infantryman. So it's almost impossible to handle such a complex task alone. And that's the second myth I would like to dispel. The thing is that snipers work in small teams. Usually it's 2 to 3 people in a group. There is even such a definition, sniper pair. And no, it's not when lovers destroy enemies together from a huge distance. It's a pair of sweaty and tired soldiers trying to eliminate the threat for everyone else. Why is a team needed? Of course, to make the job easier. Just imagine, you've run several miles. You need to quickly take cover, camouflage yourself, and at the same time, being tired and trembling, make accurate wind speed measurements, calculate the lead for the shot using mathematical formulas, and then destroy the target. Basically, all of this is done by assistants. They help the sniper take advantageous positions, assist in calculations, and also, if necessary, hide. Because a sniper rifle weighs a lot. By the way, here I forgot to mention that there are different types of snipers. Essentially, they come in 2 types. The first is classical. These are the guys who hide in forests, mountains, and under snow in special suits and eliminate targets from a long distance. But with the second type, everything is much more complicated. They are also called marksmen or infantry snipers. Essentially, they are the same infantrymen who storm buildings, fight outdoors in trenches, and often in very difficult conditions. And yes, the sniper is right in the thick of it all. Amazing, isn't it? True, his tasks boil down to simply eliminating targets that regular soldiers cannot reach. Such targets are located at medium distances, about 1,000 feet, and most often represent firing points. In general, machine gunners, artillery weapons, mortars, and the like. And the infantry sniper takes a position right in the thick of it all and eliminates all such targets. I also wanted to note another remarkable fact. The weapons for the 2 types of snipers are different. The thing is that those who work with infantry require less power and much higher rate of fire. After all, there can be many targets, and greater power would only hinder. Those snipers who work at a great distance, on the contrary, have very powerful guns, but their rate of fire is extremely low. Many people have the impression that being a sniper is quite safe. Well, what's there to it? You sit in the bushes far away from the battle, sometimes shoot at targets, then go, have tea, and enjoy tasty dinner. Meanwhile, brave soldiers storm trenches and die by the dozens. But in reality, being a sniper is very dangerous. Why? Because if your position is exposed, everything that can explode or at least maim people will fly there, literally. Often nobody even thinks of finding the exact location of a sniper. For example, in a huge forest. The enemy just figures out which square you are in and then calls for artillery fire there. Not to mention urban combat. It's much more dangerous there. Besides artillery, there is also plenty of other equipment that can destroy a sniper's hideout. Tanks, for example, easily demolish buildings to the ground. And of course there's a bunch of enemy infantry that can breach the front line at any moment and catch the shooter off guard. Oh, and if a sniper gets captured, he shouldn't expect mercy. At least that was the case during World War II. After all, they were one of the most hated targets for everyone. Why? Because snipers try not to kill their target, but only seriously wound them. I've already talked about this in my previous video, so I suggest watching it if you don't know about this fact. So, during World War II, all snipers were either killed on the spot or tortured, and then sent to concentration camps. Although it was quite a decent fate. Because of this, all snipers were issued pistols, as surrendering meant much greater suffering than simply shooting oneself. Whether this is still the case now, I honestly couldn't find information, but maybe snipers are still very much disliked. Well, it's time to continue. Next, I would like to tell you how powerful a sniper's weapon can be. As I mentioned before, there are different types of sniper rifles. Some are very powerful, others are more rapid-firing. So, which ones are used more often? Well, in urban combat conditions, the Dragunov sniper rifle is excellent. This rifle has been in service in many countries for over half a century. Why? Because the design is super simple, robust, and above all, reliable. Such a rifle is not afraid of rain, snow, or mud. In general, a truly versatile weapon. And the main thing is that it's light enough to quickly change positions and has a good rate of fire. And in conditions where it's necessary to eliminate a target at a great distance, much more powerful rifles are used. They shoot to a stunning range. And they also have simply terrifying power. The thing is, the bullet fired from such a rifle doesn't leave a small hole, as it may seem from movies. The kinetic energy of the projectile is so enormous that it literally tears the target apart. And the videos of the shots are striking in that a huge cloud of dust rises around the sniper from the shot. Naturally, because of such characteristics of the weapons, it's simply impossible to shoot silently. Even if the sniper uses suppressors and flash hiders, the shooting will still be quite loud nearby. But at a long distance, this won't be noticeable. But what strikes me the most is that essentially, snipers shoot from real guns that can be mounted on armored vehicles and light tanks. Yes, the caliber of these guns often matches. Only with vehicles, the weapon doesn't need to be carried in hands. It's mounted in a turret and it's just enough to use it. But a sniper has to carry all this on his back. Need I say how heavy it is? And from this stems another myth that also came to us from movies and video games. Have you noticed that many snipers are depicted in a standing or sitting position? So the professionals who work from a great distance almost never shoot while sitting, not to mention standing. Only lying on the ground or earth, in mud or slush, can you be sure that your hand won't shake, the sight won't wander, and you'll hit the target for sure. Well, to put it simply, try lifting a 100-foot object and holding it like that for several minutes, as if it were a sniper rifle. I bet hardly anyone will last even a minute. And remember I said that the recoil is so powerful that dust rises from the shot. So some pistols slip out of the hands of untrained people when they shoot them at the range. And here's a huge gun. In short, if you shoot from such a contraption standing, I'm afraid you won't be able to stay on your feet at all. So much for the simple job of being a sniper. And of course, because of all this, it's necessary to constantly watch your stealthiness. All sorts of suits with leaves, white robes, constant position changes, all this is simply a necessity. I would like to continue the topic of how tough it is for snipers. For example, if you're just an ordinary infantryman, you can talk to your comrades freely, go to the toilet anywhere, or just prepare yourself something to eat if there's no assault going on. But those who work seemingly in the rear aren't so lucky. A sniper simply can't afford to have a full rest. He can't even warm up his food. Why? Just imagine a huge forest with lots of military personnel on both sides. Everyone knows exactly where the front line is, so they won't be particularly surprised if smoke appears somewhere. But here, somewhere in the distance, in the forest thicket, you see a fire burning, or at least there's smoke. Naturally, everyone will immediately pay attention to it, and if there was a careless sniper sitting there, he would be in great danger. And going to the toilet anywhere isn't an option either. Any extra smells will be very distracting. The thing is, human natural smells, as well as the sense of colognes, perfumes, and so on, arouse the great interest from insects. I think I wouldn't particularly enjoy lying in the bushes waiting for an opponent, while bees and mosquitoes sting me in the butt. Or not only in that place. In general, a sniper can't rest during his work. Not at all. So, all those who work in this profession are real heroes. Oh, I almost forgot. Snipers aren't only in the military. In many countries around the world, there are police units with their own marksmen. Usually they are tasked with long-range targets, and police snipers rarely get the opportunity to eliminate live targets. So it's a bit more peaceful job than in the case of the military. But what do they do then? Well, essentially it's the same as the military, but with one difference. Their work is much safer. After all, such snipers aren't constantly in the opponent's sights, and they are unlikely to come under artillery fire. And they also work in close proximity to the target, even closer than snipers who go with infantry and fight right on the front lines, all to increase shooting accuracy. After all, often you need to take out the target with one shot. For example, a bandit who has taken a person hostage. And I've already talked about how difficult that is. There are sniper units in other structures as well. For example, in a special forces unit. Usually special forces participate in counter-terrorism operations. And what really amazes me is the difficulties snipers have to overcome in their training. After all, the physical fitness of these people has to be at a very high level. Not everyone can run with a huge load weighing over 110 pounds, and that's in uncomfortable gear. And all snipers are very smart as well. An average student wouldn't be able to perform all the calculations before a shot, and there are really a lot of them. I've mentioned just a couple of parameters, like distance and wind. But in reality, humidity, temperature, weather, terrain relief, and even the speed of the Earth's rotation all affect it. Literally, all of this has to be calculated before shooting. And you also need to have basic survival skills. After all, during combat missions, military snipers often have to survive in harsh conditions for several days without any support. And this is despite a number of restrictions, which I've also mentioned. In addition to this, a sniper must be very good at camouflaging. If you think that it's enough to just crawl into the bushes and shoot from there at the enemy, you are mistaken. Even glints from your scope can reveal your location. Not to mention that in green bushes your face will be very visible. So ladies, if your guy is a sniper, you don't need to go to beauty salons. He knows a thing or two about makeup. In general, I really consider all those who work as snipers to be superhumans. And I hope you now understand how difficult this profession is. In this video, I've told you the most interesting facts and myths about snipers' work. What do you think? Could you become a sniper based on everything I've mentioned? Write about it in the comments. And thanks for watching.